Hello and welcome to the Celtic Huddle podcast. I'm Mark Wilson. Today I'm joined once again by Simon Donnelly. We're also joined by another Celtic legend today, Lubo Moravcik, one of my all-time favourites. Lubo spent 4 years at Parkhead and won 2 titles, 1 Scottish Cup and 2 League Cups. John McGarry from the Scottish Daily Mail will also be joining us, and he's been close to all the major stories at Parkhead this season. So, on today's podcast, we'll look at the players nearing the exit door and what kind of transfer fees will be brought in for them. We'll look back on that painful 4-1 defeat to Rangers on Sunday in the last Celtic Rangers game of the season, and we want to know from you if you will renew your season ticket under the current circumstances, and that is a question running on our poll this afternoon. We'll also have the usual update in the managerial situation, if there is any. So stay with us for the next 45 minutes. Also, once again, get your comments and questions into us. We want to hear from you, and we'll read out as many as we can. We want to hear from you, the Celtic fans. And I'm delighted to say, once again, the podcast is now sponsored by First Star Legends Gin, First Class Transfers and Social Recluse. We thank them all for their support. So let's get to it. No time to waste. Let's bring in the guys. First and foremost, we've got all the way from Slovakia, Celtic legend Lubo Moravcik. How are you, Lubo?
I'm fine, thank you.
Yeah, good to see you. And John McGarry, all the way from, John, where are you? East Kilbride or something like that? Or you keeping that under wraps in case you... Yeah, Bearsdale. Oh, well, must be paying you well at the Daily Mail. Listen, John, we'll start with you. We'll come to you right away because first topic, players leaving. Now, it's been rumoured for so long, and we've chatted so much in this podcast about the loan players going and, who might be going out the door. But you had a story this morning saying that Burnley and Norwich want to sign Ryan Christie. So give us the inside track in that.
Yeah, well, I mean, Ryan Christie has given no indication at all over the last year that he's inclined to extend his stay. And it's emerged the last couple of weeks that his contract unusually expires in January, not next summer. So he's therefore entitled to speak to clubs this summer. However, the likelihood is, given that it's pretty plain he will be moving on, that this will just be accelerated and he will just move on for a considerable fee. It won't obviously be huge money, but it will still be 7 figures fees. The clubs at the moment that seem to be leading the chase for him are Norwich. They've obviously just won the English Championship, and Burnley, who still need a result actually to make sure they're in the Premiership next season. There's also a wee bit of interest from overseas. Nice were interested last year. I think there's 1 or 2 options there, but I think the player would probably like to move to England, and it does look like it's just a matter of kind of formalising that move. And the same applies to a number of other players who clearly are heading towards the exit door in the coming weeks.
Yeah, well, our first comment, Sean Marcus Clifford, do you think now's the right time for Ryan Christie to move on to a new challenge down south? Said it's quite an unusual situation. We chatted about it last week, Ryan Christie's contract, how it ends in January. And will he run that down, or will Celtic get some money for him in the summer? Now, John's papers broke that Norwich and Burnley are the front runners. What kind of fee could you imagine Celtic actually getting?
I don't think it'll be as much as maybe this time last year when he was at the top of his form.
Yeah.
And obviously his contract's running down. But it's imperative that Celtic get as much as they can for these guys if they're moving on, because we've spoke about it in the show before. Well, there's a lot of players that are going to have to come in, so you're going to have to create a budget there for to go and recruit again. So I think it probably is time for Ryan to move on. I think he has. I think he wants to go. I think he's at that stage where he wants to go. So to try and get as much money in as possible for him.
Yeah, is the stick, Lubo, is the stick that Ryan Christie's got understandable this season for his performances? I mean, looking at his stats, he's about 54 appearances. I think around about 10 goals, a couple there for Scotland. A player similar positions, Lubo, to you, would you be happy with that return, getting into double figures goals wise in those appearances, or would you look for more?
Celtic is very good at this for everybody. it's big club, but English Premier League, it's big motivation, and obviously also the better money for the players. For that, it's difficult to resist and stay for a long time in Celtic. What I said, for everybody, it's Celtic very good club to jump for better league, because Scottish League it's difficult to compare with Premier League, because for me Premier League is the best competition ever, and I think everybody is very. I think it's dream for everybody to play there, and for that I understand.
Yeah, I was going to say, Lubo, right, so let's pretend that you're back, you're 26, you're Ryan Christie, you've had some good years at Celtic, you've won everything there is to win, a Norwich or a Burnley come in for you. Would you be tempted then to go to the English Premier League and try it out?
Of course, it's absolutely logical for young, like that youngs. What I said, it's dream to play Premier League, and I think it's a good age now to move. And if Celtic gets some money, it's also good for Celtic, and find some another player maybe who can make same performance and maybe jump to Premier League again. I think that it's a role the Scottish League in the football to prepare the players, especially Celtic Rangers, for English league. I think we have to accept that situation, because it's like that. We are not in the 70s and 60s. We are in 21st century. You know, I think we have to accept the English league. It's somewhere a different world. You know.
Yeah, it's sometimes too good to turn down, and the challenge is there for players. That's where they look to go, and Lubo's got a good point. You know, that's been the Celtic model, getting them in. You know, Ryan Christie, when he was loaned out to Aberdeen, didn't really look like he would have a future at Celtic, but came back, did well, and Celtic got the best out of him, and maybe it is time to get a bit of cash for him, albeit not as much as he would have got perhaps in January when we were chanting about £10 million in Nice. Lubo, Odsonne-Edouard is another. It's also set to leave. How good a striker is he? You've been impressed by him?
You know, I think he had a better season, maybe season before. Now this season wasn't really best for him because he was injured a couple games, and I think for him. I'm not sure it's the moment to move because I think it's better to move with better season with Celtic, and he's still young. I think he doesn't need to be rushed move to English or some another league. For me, it's a guy to stay another season and make better season than last.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. I mean, the point is, if he stays another season, you'd have to get him to sign another contract. I mean, Lubo, he's got 1 year left in his contract already, so Celtic would presumably get a decent amount for him, perhaps 15 million quid. If he doesn't sign, he leaves for nothing in the summer, so you're going to have to persuade him to sign again to get another season.
Yeah, it's normal. It's good politics of club if they sign players and sell him for money. But I don't know how his personal approach for this situation. If he wants to stay or he wants to move, it's about discussion with the club. But just as a fan, from far, I watch his season. This season, I think it's not the best moment for him. It's my opinion to move. It's because if you move to English club, you need to play because you are 21, 22. It's not to move and sit on the bench. That it's not a good decision.
Yeah. Lubo, a lot of love coming for you here down the side as we're watching the comments pour in for you. Greg Campbell's the latest one though. Lubo would be a fantastic European scout for Celtic. Fancy that gig?
Yeah, but I'm a lazy. I don't want to move every weekend. I want to stay home. It's hard job. I better you have not some better job for me. Stay in Glasgow every weekend, watch the game, and get the money. Sorry. Scout is the worst job in the football because you have every weekend move aeroplane and cars and miles to make. It's not for me. I'm 56. I'm not 26.
Greg Campbell, there's your answer, Greg.
Find some better job for me, not this one.
Well, manager, do you want manager or free kick coach? What about that?
Assistant, less money but less responsibility. That it's better.
Magic. Listen, we love you, Lubo. You and boy Martin there coming in, and loads more coming in, and that's why. Pretty honest. John, back to Edward and Christie, and we'll add Ayer to that as well. All going. You would think. Total fees around £25 million. Would you say?
Maybe a bit more than that. I mean, I think despite the fact Edward hasn't had a good season, I think the fact that Leicester seem to be the club that's keenest on him is significant because obviously Brendan Rodgers knows what he can do. And there do seem to be other clubs, likes of Roma, who are interested as well. So I think there will be enough interest that will drive the fee probably £20 million and upwards. Christopher Ayer seems to be interested in Norwich and Newcastle. From what I gather, his preference is to go to Newcastle because there is more of a guarantee of first-team football there. He seems to be more sold on that as a club. And by the time you add in, probably get maybe a couple of £1 million for Christie still. You could be looking at closer to £30 million, maybe more than that. But it's essential that they get these situations resolved to get that money in, to get reinvested, because there's as I've said many times before, the scale of the rebuilding job is like nothing we've seen in years.
Yeah, Sid, I mean, even if it is £30 million, like John's suggesting it could be, a year ago, you'd probably look at all the fees and where they were, their transfer fees potentially could have been £50 million. So that's quite a scary drop.
It's a big drop, but again, it's the way football works. It can fluctuate so much. I think obviously Celtic not been successful this year. Edward, all right, he's over 20 goals, but he's not performed as well, I don't think, this year as last. And all these things, obviously the contracts are running down. All these things work against you in terms of value. But as John says there, if it can get as close to 30, if these three guys are going, because there's a hell of a lot to come in.
Yeah.
We've
looked at it. You're looking at full-backs, you're looking at centre-back, possibly a goalkeeper.
Yeah.
A midfielder, a striker. It's a big turnaround this year.
Like a championship manager where you get your transfer kitty at the start. And
it's a clean slate. Sure. And it's a big job for the guy to come in. We're sitting here on Tuesday. We were hoping after the disappointment of the game at the weekend we might have an announcement today, but we're still waiting. Still waiting.
I mean, on Edward, John, 40 games, 22 goals so far. You mentioned Brendan Rodgers and Leicester there. Could Brendan Rodgers do his old team a favour by starting a bidding war, starting it at quite high and forcing others to try and outbid each other?
Well, it would help the situation. Apparently from the word go here, where Edward has made it clear that he's not interested in talking about a new contract, and therefore this is the time you have to sell him. The Leicester have made it clear that they are very keen to sign him. That there are other teams involved, but I don't think that situation has changed, and I think that the relationship between the player and the manager, I think it points towards him moving to Leicester, unless something comes completely out of the blue. Like Arsenal has been mentioned in the past, but on the back of the kind of disappointing season he's had, that's going to be far less likely, I think. So yeah, listen, I think that by the time this managerial situation gets resolved, the very first thing on the agenda is to find out who wants to stay, who wants to go, and it's a question of Dominic Mackay getting these deals done and getting some serious money in the transfer kitty.
Yeah, well, Lubo, I mean, there's going to be a lot of work required at the club and players to come in. And you wonder what the transfer kitty is going to be like. I mean, unfortunately, not too many Lubos around for £300,000, unfortunately, for Celtic and the fans. Carlton Boy here says Lubo is in the top few for most skillful player to pull on a Celtic top. Left foot, right foot, frightening. Scoring free corners and free kicks. What would a young Lubo cost now? What do you think, Lubo? What would you cost now?
The cars cost a lot of money. The players cost a lot of money. The life goes higher and higher. It's
exactly. Listen, you'd be well out of Celtic's price bracket anyway. But for the new
I would like to have some player as an agent for this 20 or 25 million pounds. I would like to go out. But to find
that seems to be the job nowadays. In terms of the on you go, Lubo, sorry.
Yeah, you said it's bigger work for Celtic now to bring the players for new season. I think the most important it's transfer. The time of the football it's transfer. If you make a mistake after season, it's difficult. But if you make good choice, maybe now it's very hard for the Scottish clubs, big Scottish clubs like Celtic, Rangers, find a player for reasonable money and with good quality. It's a big competition for the good players now, especially against the English teams and European big teams. It's maybe to go to the countries where it's not football rich, very rich, and find the players over there. But it's difficult job, difficult to be honest.
Yeah, well, that's a good point you make. I mean, you can't just go into the transfer market and look at the big countries and hope to get. Take the English Premier League, for example. Celtic have been guilty over numerous years of going down there and picking young loan players up and bringing them up, and they're just not good enough. But Lubo makes a point there to go further afield, to scout better and countries further afield. I mean, you're talking perhaps a new manager. Do you think in the regions of 30 million is that too high to sort this squad out, or can you sort this squad out with far less money than that if you get your recruitment and your homework done correctly?
I think it's a wee bit of both. I think that they're going to need substantial amount of money to bring in the quality, but as Lubo says there, you maybe look further afield. And I know we're joking about it, I know Lubo's joking about it, about recruitment and stuff, but I would love guys like that to be in a job at Celtic. Expertise in football, be able to cast their net far and wide. I've said it long and weary. We should have certain players for certain countries in Europe.
You did mention that to me last week.
I think it'd be a great idea, because alright, you're never ever going to find many Lubo Moravciks about, but there'll be other boys out there with talent. I think Ajax are a great example of plucking people that nobody's heard of from smaller nations, developing them. I think it's a road that Celtic should look down, and guys like him would be priceless to go and seek players out. I know he doesn't want to move his
living room. Lubo's quite happy there on the golf course, but no, it's a good point, Sid. You make it the amount of ex-players that are dotted all around Europe, suppose, would probably know the market in their own country better than sending someone on a flight, several flights a month.
Excuse me, if I can mention something, what you said. For example, you saw this season play European League Slavia Prague. It's not the players too expensive, but very good. For example, some player like Provod, he played in the small club last season, but this season he moved to Slavia. He made big progress, and it's a very talented player, very still young, good physical, left foot, very interesting to maybe see the player like that, something like this example, because play against Leicester, play against Rangers, and he showed good quality. That is maybe goes this way,
Yeah, I think you're right. I think guys like that who have got the experience of some European football understand what it means playing the big stage, but you will get them for cheap rather than the loan market down south or getting for a big club.
Excuse me, Soucek signed for 20 million for West Ham. Best now in the Premier League. It's Czech Republic, maybe Slovakia. It's not. But somewhere maybe Austria, Hungary, it's a lot of players over there maybe to watch. Because
good.
Also Hungarian team Ferencváros this season played the Champions League. Also in ex-Yugoslavia, a lot of good players, especially Dinamo Zagreb, very good team, played the European League also well this season. That is maybe a way to watch these players, this quality or this nations. What he said.
He could do the job. He could do the job.
I was just going to say, Lubo, you're doing your chances of sitting in your living room no good. You've created a great addition for the job.
Okay, but I need private jet.
You've probably got one of them sitting in your driveway right now as we speak. Listen, moving on. Losing to Rangers once again. Said the 4-1 defeat on Sunday was the fourth defeat of the season to Rangers. Haven't beaten them since December 2019. Can you believe that? In the League Cup final with Julian's goal. What's going on in these fixtures now?
Really disappointing again. Billow, I sat and watched it with my son. He was saying we're now going through what Rangers went through for 9 years. That was the first he's experienced this, continuously getting beat. It's not a particularly good feeling, but yeah, just disappointing. Again, lacklustre is the word that I would use. Get 2-1, there's a wee chance for Turnbull with a header. I think Elyounoussi hitting the bar and then Rangers 2 minutes later scoring and Celtic down to 10 men. Things not going your way, but just disappointing again.
Yeah.
Disappointing.
If it can go wrong for Celtic, it has went wrong.
Yeah.
I actually thought for 20 odd minutes, I thought Celtic played pretty well. Thought they looked comfortable and, they passed the ball well, get in on the left hand side a few times. Elyounoussi has that strike and McGregor again tips on the bar and you're thinking, here we go again. I don't mean to make you feel bad, but in the 90s, mate, when I was growing up watching it,
I texted a friend at the time exactly that when McGregor saves it, and within 2 minutes Rangers have scored.
Yeah.
And to add insult to injury, McGregor's sent off, at the same time. So as you say, if things could go wrong for Celtic this year, it has.
Yeah, John, just touching on what Sid said there about Callum McGregor being sent off, was it a deserved red card for him?
I felt it was. I thought it were two bookable offences. A very experienced player now. I just don't know what was going through his mind when he goes to ground for the second one. But the kind of so much of the game summed up Celtic's season. Just mistakes and big moments. An inability to convert chances, inability to keep the ball out of the net at the other end within a matter of minutes. There were flashes of sort of decent play and some kind of promise about it, but in terms of doing the fundamentals at both ends of the park, it's been very much the story of the season. There's just many European games, the Rangers games. I mean, it's. You wonder how many chances Celtic need to score a goal in these matches, and certainly Rangers don't need the same number to score at the other end. So it was very much a continuation of the theme we've seen for quite some time now.
Yeah, and that's a disappointing thing. You touched on the theme, and the theme for Celtic this year has been been so poor at the back. I get. You will miss chances, and it seems like they're missing a lot. But if you keep creating them, you'll eventually put the ball in the back of the net. But when you pair that with not keeping the ball at the net, it's a problem. And Steven Gerrard said in his post-match that we targeted Celtic's weak point, which is their back line. And I think you could see it right away with Tavernier. Anytime he got the ball from about 35 yards out, his first instinct was to cross the ball into the box. and you cannot win games if you're inviting teams just to put balls into your box, and even when the one comes to roof, and maybe that just sums up Celtic's season, that he puts it in with his chest, and it's something that Celtic, or any new manager, it's the first port of call. They have to get sorted, you know, the goalkeeper and the back four. So there's your 5 players you need right away. But John, just speaking on McGregor there, is there a chance he actually might look to move in the summer?
Well, it's a possibility. I mean, clearly he would be the favourite to succeed Scott Brown as captain. Leicester were interested in him a year ago, no doubt about that. And, you know, Brendan Rodgers' admiration for Callum McGregor is a matter of record. He's not had his greatest season, Callum, you know, but you know, the talent is there. We can all see that. It's not out with the realms of possibility that, you know, a big club down south could come in for him, and he's then got a decision to make. He's at that kind of summer stage in his career as well. I think the chances are he will probably be there next season. But Celtic can really ill afford to lose him. I mean, you know, if you're actually looking at kind of, you know, nailed on first team players for next season, you know, apart from him, you know, Julian, Forrest, Taylor, Turnbull. After that, you know, there's a lot of kind of maybes, and, you know, you got to assume a lot of the loan players, all the loan players will probably get back. The 3 we mentioned earlier on will probably move on. You know, there are only, you know, it really is kind of half a team at the moment, and McGregor is a key component of that. So it's certainly not, if there is an interest, Celtic certainly shouldn't, you know, they shouldn't encourage it.
Yeah, well, Paul Eady here says Celtic don't have a captain to replace Brown. Celtic need to sign one. I mean, Sid, Callum McGregor, you know, it's taken that he's a natural successor for this role. I mean, he is a leader. People say he is a leader, but a very different leader from Scott Brown. And should you be given the armband just for, you know, longevity because he's been at the club for long, or will he even be there? Do you think there's a chance he might move on in the summer?
From a personal view, I hope not. I think Callum, as John says, if you're looking till next season, for me, he's one of the ones that you build a new team around. I think he's been excellent for Celtic over several successful years. Whether he's the next captain, I don't know. He's a different. I don't know the boy personally at all, really, but he's a different character to Scott Brown. You know, and he's more a leading by example on the pitch. I think he's a quieter character, but. Where do you pluck another kind of Scott Brown from at the moment, you know, in terms of leadership? Yeah,
it's hard to pluck another Scott Brown. I think McGregor's a brilliant player. I really do. I do think he's a leader on the pitch. I just get a feeling that a new manager might just want a different voice. Yeah. Someone. It's hard to explain, you know, what a captain requires off the pitch.
Again, that comes with, you know, with a new manager coming in, they might have somebody in mind. Yeah. You know, that somebody they've worked with before.
It wouldn't be the first time you see a manager bring somebody in and give them the armband right away. Yep. And I don't think if that happens, I don't.
Excuse me, who's going to be new manager? You said the new manager. Who? Is it
Lubo.
Rumors?
Well, Lubo, Eddie Howe's name will not go away. Now, it's not a done deal. It's fell silent a wee bit, but as far as everyone's led to believe or hoping, it could be Eddie Howe. But we're still waiting. Who would is there anyone in mind you would have liked to have seen come in at Celtic?
No. Celtic
no
needs some, maybe, you know, now it's very fashion in Europe for the youngs. No big football players for the youngs managers. For example, one from Leipzig, another one. It's
the one that's made at Bayern Munich.
Signed that. It's maybe new fashion. Maybe for football, actually, it's maybe bring some young, maybe some, you know, with different idea, you know, football, because football now changed a lot. When I watch football, it's not same what I played, you know, it's a lot of running, a lot of touches, 1-2 touches, quick move, quick passes. That is new football. It's completely new. It's, for that I think the best manager is now some young who is who's got this character to play football quick and fast, and not Barcelona put football, bring new football, but I think even Guardiola, he changed he's keeping ball, but go forward more and more. Not only keeping ball. Well, you know what I mean.
Yeah, there has to be a purpose to it. Yeah, there has to be an end product.
Yeah, even Guardiola made a lot of progress in Manchester City. When I watched last game, I was terrified about this fast combination and bring ball before the goal and shoot and score. That it's football now. Now football changed.
Yeah, well, Eddie Howe would match everything that you said there. A young coach who has experience in the Premier League, Lubo, who plays attractive football, quick counter-attacking stuff. So, so attractive. So
attractive football, because football now only passes without finish before the goal. It's boring.
Yeah. Well, Lubo, I mean, Rangers are now 23 points ahead of Celtic. Similar situation that you had in 2000 when Martin O'Neill took over. So, I mean, first question is, can the team turn it round next year if they get an Eddie Howe? And, I mean, how did Martin O'Neill turn it round in that time? You've just mentioned football's very different now, so I'd imagine it was a different challenge then for Martin O'Neill than it would be for Eddie Howe coming into Celtic now.
Yeah, it depends the transfer market. What quality of the players he used to can bring some, players. What I said, players who play quick and technically good. It's now. If I watch Rangers, I watched against Slavia Prague. Played twice. Rangers is not for me. So strong team. It's good team, but I don't think so. It's the team built by the stars or great players. I think it's very solid because work hard with coach, manager, but it's. I think Celtic, missed this season because 20 points. It was a very very early over. Even in December. It was finished for Celtic.
Can you back in 2000, Lubo? Back in 2000, when you were 23 points clear, can you remember? Did you think that was easy to turn around the next year? Did you believe new manager? Yet we could easily turn that round and win the league.
What I said, it's not going to be easy, but it's. I think. Rangers dominated this league this season, but I saw maybe last 5-6 results 1-0, 2-1, 1-0, 2-1. It was not 5-6-0. Celtic, we dominated too much that season because we played, we scored a lot of goals. I don't think so. It's Rangers. No possible to catch for next season. I think it's possible because it's what I said, new manager with new players, but attractive football. Must be attractive football, that is most important. Because I hope the fans will be back on the stadium, and that it's also motivation for the players for new season with fans. Celtic is going to be a better team, I'm sure.
Yeah, well, listen, that brings us on nicely, Lubo, to our next point. You mentioned the fans there and maybe back in the stadiums. Our next point is season tickets. So we ran the poll today asking if you were willing to part with your money and renew your season tickets, even though you didn't know who the manager was, and it's a big ask. So The poll, the results so far are: will you renew your season tickets? Yes, 27%. No, 73%. That's interesting. I mean, £30 million worth of money on this for the fans to support the club, but that could also help the new manager. But John, you can understand some people not want to put their hands in their pockets for £600 when they don't really know what they're going to be watching next season, if they'll get in the stadium. But who the manager is, it's a big gamble not to announce anything at this minute in time, is it not?
Yeah, I mean, I can fully understand that kind of breakdown in percentages. You know, I mean, as things stand, you know, there is very little incentive for a supporter to be spending that kind of money. I think it all changes pretty quickly if, as we expect, Eddie Howe is named in the next sort of week or so, and then you start hearing about, you know, players coming in and things start sort of moving forward. But they're going to have to deliver on this pretty quickly. I mean, it's 10 weeks, almost 10 weeks since Neil Lennon left the club. In 11 weeks' time, Celtic have their first Champions League qualifier. So you bring that back, you obviously need to be in pre-season for 4 weeks before that, really. So that's only 7 weeks away. And as things stand, you know, you've got massive gaps in the team. You know, it's... so, yeah, I think people have been, to a certain extent, understanding of the situation because Dominic Mackay, you know, wasn't coming in. He now is coming in. Eddie Howe definitely had interest from Crystal Palace. But there doesn't really seem to be any good reason why the whole thing isn't given the green light now. And I can understand people's increasing impatience with the whole situation.
Yeah, Sid, what do you make of that? I mean, the season ticket things. I've met so many people who have said no, they won't renew until further news. Again, equally, I've met other people who say, listen, I'm a Celtic fan, I will put my hand in my pocket regardless. So you see both points of view, but
I do, but Celtic support will always be there. Well, they will always. I think we're all just at the point now where we just want an announcement. We want an announcement. We want, as John says there, the excitement of new players coming in, refreshing the squad. Yeah, it's been a terrible season for everybody connected with Celtic, but now we're looking to the future. We're looking to the future. I want to see fresh faces come in. I want to see what Lubo's saying there, exciting football. I want to hear about the new management team coming in and go and challenge against Rangers. Again, I agree with everything Lubo's saying. There are 23 points. Rangers are ahead, but it's not a Rangers team where I see it's impossible to pull it back, but we need to do stuff quick. We need to set things off quickly. It's 11 weeks, as John says there, to the Champions League. I would just like to get somebody in place, preferably this week, and then let's start recruiting again.
Yeah, I think it is important that the Celtic fans know what they're buying into. I mean, Adam Beanie-Smith here at the bottom there, guy, says you're putting a poll out to people who probably don't buy season tickets in the first place. Internet fans don't speak for the real Celtic support. But listen, when Ronnie Dyla was in charge, the stadium was half full. You know, the top tier was shut. So, I mean, the Celtic fans buy into, you know, the thought of good football. They like watching good football. They will go every week to watch good football. If they don't know what they're getting, they won't put their hands in their pocket.
The other thing as well is they backed the club last year, you know, in the height of the pandemic when there was going to be they've spent a lot of money last year supporting the club. But yeah, I think the positive side of it would be to announce somebody, and I think that would give everybody a lift.
Yeah, no, it would be. So, guys, just the last point, and we've touched on it, the manager, all throughout, and we've touched on it for 10 weeks, John. Like you've said, 10 weeks since Neil Lennon left. I mean, Sid, what's your understanding of this Eddie Howe situation then? What do you think they're waiting for? Because I was of the opinion on Sunday when the final whistle went, regardless of what had happened, if Celtic had won, 4-1, or they got beat 4-1 like they did, that something would have been in place. Yep. Get the Scottish Cup game against Rangers out the way. Get this league game against Rangers out the way. Now you've got 2 games left, St John's and Hibs. Mean nothing. Yep. now would be the right time, would it not? And if not,
100%.
why not? Can you get if Eddie Howe says, look, I don't want anything to do with the real competitive stuff, but I'll take charge when the season's done. It's done now, so why not now?
I don't know. I really don't. I can't answer you, Willow. I think I'm like you. I was sitting there thinking, right, okay, Tuesday comes about, they'll announce something. I think he's a huge favourite with the bookies. Does that say something? I don't know. I don't know why the club not just coming out with something now. As I say, the season's over.
Yeah. Lubo, I mean, if it is to be Eddie Howe, now there is some rumours that he's not here because there's some issues concerning the staff that he may be bringing. Now we know that's hard to get in place. Is that an important thing under Martin O'Neill? Martin O'Neill had great staff round about him that when he wasn't on the training pitch, of course, it made a difference to the guys who were there. So pretty important to get the right assistant and first team coach in place, also along with a manager, is it not?
Of course, but I think everything depends from a manager, because I think he should make choice about his staff. First, it's to find or to sign a new manager, and after is his decision who will be around him. But I think I'm absolutely agree. I agree with Simon. It's not now. Wait, why wait? Because it's finished. Season is over. I think we can win 2 weeks for work. You know that it's maybe good idea. Take decision as soon as possible.
Yeah, John, is it as simple as Eddie Howe's waiting on to see how Bournemouth season's finishing up before a package could be agreed for the coaches he wants? Or again, equally, I've heard rumours that Lubo and Simon's old teammate Mark Burchill might be joining the staff. Peter Grant might be rumoured to be on the radar as well. But those couple of coaches at Bournemouth, are they the sticking point in all of this?
I think that has something to do with it, but I think it's more centred around the kind of the structure. I mean, Celtic favour the structure with a director of football, with Eddie Howe working underneath him. Eddie Howe was originally wanting to bring in Richard Hughes, who's been more of a technical director, and I think Celtic are kind of less keen on that idea. So I think there's less chance of Richard Hughes joining now than perhaps 4 or 5 weeks ago. Yeah, I mean, I think the whole situation, I think really they probably got to the end of the week before people start getting pretty upset with the whole thing, because the fans have been living in a kind of information vacuum. You're not expecting daily bulletins on the various candidates and all that. That's not the way a football club does its business. But they've heard absolutely nothing from the hierarchy. Dominic Mackay's not said anything whatsoever so far. And I think given the money people spent this season for pretty abysmal campaign, I think people are entitled to expect an awful lot better. And when they finally do break cover, I think some kind of acknowledgement that the huge mistakes were made this season, some kind of apology to supporters would not be out of place. But I think people at this point in time would just settle for a new manager and some kind of pathway forward.
And John, just before we tie this up and let you go, what about John Kennedy then? Does he survive this? Does he fit in to the coaching team? Does he move upstairs? What's your opinion on that?
I think he will be around in some capacity. I think although he was adamant that he hasn't held discussions about the director of football role last week, I take him at his word on that. I think Celtic for a long time have seen him potentially in some kind of role like that. Fergal Harkin is the other name that's been mentioned with that. I think John Kennedy has got a very good reputation within the game. Brendan Rodgers wanted to take him to Leicester. He decided to stay put. And I think Eddie Howe will have done his homework on him. And there's a lot to be said for some kind of continuity. For all John Kennedy has been clearly associated with the failure of this season, he does know an awful lot of the problems that this squad has had. And I think he will either fulfil that director of football role or will become one of the first team coaches next season.
Yeah. Listen, I would agree with that. Sid, think he'll survive just quickly, John?
I don't know. It depends if he wants to go and he's expressed management before, hasn't he? Does he go and be his own man somewhere now?
Yeah, maybe.
You know, and again, is that maybe one of the stumbling blocks, like Eddie Howe coming in, wanting his own guys? Who knows?
Who knows? All right. Well, that's us, guys. Brilliant. Well, I've thoroughly enjoyed it. Lubo, thank you very much once again for joining us. And you've put yourself forward admirably for the Celtic European Scout. But as long as we get you a private jet, so listen, we'll pass that on to Dominic Mackay and Eddie Howe if he's in place. Good man, Lubo. Thanks again, mate.
Thank you.
Cheers.
All the best.
Cheers, Lubo.
Cheers. John, thanks very much again. Great insight, and we'll speak to you again in a couple of weeks, hopefully. Cheers, mate. And that's it. Thanks to everyone for listening. Sending us in your comments, some good points here, some big questions, and we'll see what the next week brings. And thanks once again to our sponsors, First Star Legends Gin, Social Recluse, and First Class Transfers. We'll see you all again next week.